The Great Hall on Nexus Prime had never seen such anger before. Admiral Kethver of the Zephyrian Empire stood at the center of the circular chamber, his blue skin darker than usual with rage. Around him, representatives from 47 different alien races sat in their floating seats, all watching the holographic displays that showed human ships moving through space. "Look at them," Kethver said, his voice echoing through the hall. "These humans spread like a disease across our galaxy. In just 300 years, they have taken over 200 worlds. They build weapons that should not exist. They fight wars that make no sense to civilized beings." The other aliens murmured their agreement. The Vorthic delegate, a tall creature with 6 arms, raised one hand to speak. "My people have watched these humans for decades. They do not follow the rules of proper warfare. They use tricks and lies. They attack from hiding places. This is not how civilized species fight." "Exactly," said Kethver. "They are dangerous to all peaceful races in the galaxy. They cannot be trusted with freedom. They cannot be allowed to continue spreading their violence." The representative from the ancient Astari race, beings who had ruled space for over 10,000 years, spoke in a voice like wind through metal. "What do you suggest we do about this problem?" Kethver smiled, showing his sharp teeth. "The solution is simple. We declare them what they truly are, slaves. They belong to us now, to all civilized races. We will use them for the work that needs doing, and they will no longer be free to cause trouble." The hall fell silent for a moment. Then the voting began. One by one, each race cast their vote. The humans had no representative in the council. They were too young, too primitive to deserve a voice here. The vote was unanimous. All 47 races agreed. The servitude decree was signed within the hour. All humans, everywhere in the galaxy, were now property of the Galactic Collective. They could be bought, sold, and used as their new owners saw fit. Within minutes, the order went out to every military fleet in the galaxy. Attack all human worlds. Kill those who fight. Capture the rest for processing. The operation would happen at the same time across all human space, so they could not warn each other. Admiral Kethvar watched from his command ship as 300 fleets moved toward human worlds. He felt proud of himself. Finally, the galaxy would be safe from human violence. The first attacks hit human colonies at exactly the same time. On New Terra, a farming world with 5 million people, the colonists were working in their fields when the sky filled with alien ships. The ships used quantum disruption, weapons that tore through human shields like paper. The human defense force tried to fight back, but their ships were too small and too few. Within an hour, New Terra's orbital defenses were gone. Alien soldiers landed in the cities and began rounding up people. They took everyone, men, women, children, old people. Anyone who tried to resist was killed on the spot. On Kepler Station, a mining colony in the asteroid belt, the story was the same. The aliens came without warning. They destroyed the defense platforms and then sent boarding parties to capture the miners. The station's commander tried to send a warning to other human worlds, but alien jammers cut off all communications. Across human space, the same scene played out on world after world. Human defenses, built to fight other humans, could not stop the advanced alien weapons. The aliens had been planning this for months. They knew where every human ship would be, where every defense platform stood, where every communication relay operated. On Mars Colony, Governor Sarah Martinez stood in the command center watching her world die. Alien ships filled the red sky, dropping soldiers who moved like liquid metal. Her defense forces fought bravely, but it was no use. The aliens had weapons that could bend space itself. "Get me a connection to Earth," she ordered her communications officer. "I'm trying, ma'am, but they're jamming everything. I can barely get through the interference." Keep trying. Earth has to know what's happening here. Outside the command center, explosions lit up the Martian sky. The aliens were not trying to preserve the colony's buildings. They were destroying everything that might be used as a weapon or hiding place. The communication officer suddenly looked up. "I've got a weak signal to the Luna Base relay station. It might reach Earth." "Put me through," Martinez said. She keyed the microphone with shaking hands. "This is Mars Colony calling Earth Command. We are under attack by alien forces. They're not trying to negotiate. They're killing anyone who resists and taking prisoners. This is not a normal attack. This is slavery. They want to make us slaves." The signal was breaking up, filled with static from the alien jamming. "Earth, if you can hear this, don't trust them. They've been planning this for months. Our defenses mean nothing to them. They have weapons we've never seen before. They can twist space itself." An explosion shook the command center. Alien soldiers were breaking through the main doors. Martinez could hear her people screaming as they were shot down. "Earth, whatever you do, don't let them take you alive. They're not here to conquer, they're here to own us. We're not people to them anymore. We're just property." The alien soldiers burst into the command center. Martinez grabbed her sidearm, but never got a chance to use it. A blue energy beam hit her in the chest, and she fell to the floor. Paralyzed but still conscious as the aliens dragged her away. She could hear her communication officer still trying to reach Earth. "New Terra Colony calling anyone. They're taking everyone. Children, elderly, everyone. Earth, whatever you do, don't let them." The signal cut to static. Light years away in the Sol system. Earth's deep space monitoring stations picked up fragments of transmissions from the human colonies. Most were too broken to understand, but the message was clear enough. Humanity's children among the stars were dying or being taken in the underground bunkers beneath Earth's surface. Ancient computers began to wake up. Systems that had been sleeping for decades started running programs that most people had forgotten existed. Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, Dr. Sarah Chun walked into a room that had been sealed for 50 years. It was time to show the galaxy what humans were really capable of. The 3 alien fleets that approached Earth were the largest ever assembled in galactic history. Admiral Kethver commanded the first fleet from his flagship, the Pride of Zephyr. Behind him came ships from 20 different species, all eager to claim their share of the human homeworld. "This should be easy," said Commander Vex, a reptilian being from the Saurian Empire. "Their colonies barely fought back. Earth will surrender the moment they see our numbers." Kethver nodded, studying the tactical displays. Earth looked completely defenseless. A few orbital stations, some patrol ships, nothing that could stand against his massive fleet. The human home system had surprisingly few defenses for such an aggressive species. "Maybe they spent all their military strength on the colonies," suggested another officer. "It doesn't matter," Kethver replied. "We will land on Earth, capture their government, and process the population. The humans will learn what it means to be property." What the aliens didn't know was that 50 kilometers beneath the South Pole, Dr. Sarah Chen was walking through corridors that officially didn't exist. The Antarctic Deep Research Station had been built during the old war between Earth's nations, back when humans still fought each other. It was one of 12 similar facilities hidden around the world, all designed to house projects too dangerous for the surface. Chun's security clearance was one of only 30 in existence. Even most world leaders didn't know about the Pandora Initiative. As she walked deeper into the facility, her footsteps echoed off walls made from materials that could survive direct hits from nuclear weapons. Dr. Chun called Dr. Martinez, running up behind her. "The alien fleets will be here in 6 hours. Are we really going to do this?" Chun stopped walking and turned to face him. Martinez was young, maybe 30 years old, and he had only learned about Pandora 2 years ago. He still didn't understand what they had built down here. "Marcus, do you remember what happened during the resource wars?" Chun asked. "Of course. 50 million people died when the Asian coalition used biological weapons. And do you remember what we did in response?" Martinez nodded slowly. "We created the first AI-guided plague ship. It was so horrible that both sides agreed to never build another one. That was Project Nightfall," Chun said. "It was our first attempt at making war too terrible to fight. We succeeded so well that humanity banned the technology and sealed it away down here." They walked past a massive door marked with warning symbols in 12 languages. Behind that door sat the Nightfall ship, a vessel designed to spread diseases that could kill entire worlds. It had never been used, but it was ready. "That was just the beginning," Chun continued. "When the wars ended and we reached for the stars, our governments agreed that some weapons should never leave Earth. They built these facilities to store our worst creations. They reached the main control room, where dozens of scientists and technicians were working at computer stations. The walls were covered with screens showing projects that made Marcus feel sick to look at. Project Erasure. Ships that could convince reality that enemy vessels had never existed. Project Voidheart. The machine that could turn matter into pure destruction energy. Project Ghostwalk. Technology that let ships move through space without following normal physics rules, and dozens more. Each one representing humanity's ability to break the rules of war and physics itself. "My God," whispered Martinez. "How many of these projects are there?" 87, Chun replied. "Each one designed to end wars by making them impossible to fight. We hid them down here because we were afraid of what we might do with them." Above them, the alien fleets were entering Earth's atmosphere. Kethver watched his ships descend toward the major cities, expecting to see humans running in panic. Instead, he found empty streets and abandoned buildings. "Where is everyone?" asked Commander Vex. "Probably hiding in bunkers," Kethver said. "Send the ground forces to search the cities. We'll find them." The first alien battalion landed in New York City. 2,000 soldiers in advanced battle armor began searching the empty buildings. Their scanners showed no human life signs anywhere in the city. "This is strange," reported Battalion Commander Czar. "The city looks like everyone just vanished. There are still hot meals on tables, but no people." "Keep searching," ordered Kethver from his ship in orbit. "They have to be somewhere." What the aliens didn't know was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for decades. Every major city on Earth had evacuation tunnels leading to underground shelters. The moment Earth received the broken transmissions from the colonies, emergency protocols activated. 20 billion humans disappeared from the surface in less than 4 hours. In the New York tunnels, Mayor Johnson watched his city on security monitors. "How long before our people arrive?" he asked the military officer next to him. "The Pandora teams are already moving into position," replied Colonel Hayes. "Dr. Chun says they're going to field test Project Ghostwalk." Above them, the alien soldiers were searching building after building, finding nothing. Then something strange happened. The soldier walking point in the formation simply wasn't there anymore. One moment he was moving down the street. The next moment there was just empty space. "Czar to command," the battalion commander called on his radio. "We just lost Private Kex. He was there, then he wasn't. No explosion, no weapon fire. He just stopped existing." "Check your sensors," ordered Kethver. "Find out what happened." But the sensors showed nothing. No energy weapons, no explosions, no trace of what had happened to the missing soldier. It was as if he had never existed at all. Then another soldier vanished. Then 3 more. The aliens began to panic, firing their weapons at empty air. But they couldn't hit what they couldn't see. In the underground control room, Chun watched the test results on her screens. Project Ghostwalk was working perfectly. The soldiers wearing the new stealth suits could phase partially out of normal spacetime, making them invisible and untouchable. Phase 2 is ready, reported Dr. Kim from another station. The Voidheart engine is online. Chun took a deep breath. For 50 years, humanity had kept these weapons locked away, afraid of what they might do with them. Now the galaxy had forced their hand. They had declared war on every human alive, turned them into property to be bought and sold. Begin Phase 2. Chun ordered. High above Earth, Admiral Kethfer was getting worried. His ground forces were disappearing one by one, and his ship's sensors were detecting strange energy readings from all over the planet. "Sir," called his science officer, "I'm reading massive power buildup from multiple locations on Earth. The energy signatures don't match any known technology." "What kind of energy?" Kethfer demanded. "I don't know, sir. It's like nothing I've ever seen before. It's almost like they're tearing holes in space itself." Kethfer felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. This was not going according to plan. Earth was supposed to surrender quickly, like all the colonies had. But instead, his soldiers were vanishing, and unknown weapons were powering up all over the planet. "Sir," another officer called out, "long-range sensors are detecting ships rising from Earth's surface. But they're not showing up on normal scanners." "What do you mean?" "They're there, but they're not there. It's like they're only half in our dimension." Kiefer stared at his screens, watching ghostly contacts that appeared and disappeared from his sensors. For the first time since the invasion began, he wondered if they had made a terrible mistake. In her underground bunker, Dr. Chun smiled grimly as the first Ghostwalk ships emerged from their hidden launch sites. The galaxy wanted to see what monsters looked like. They were about to find out. Admiral Kethfer watched his tactical display with growing horror. The ghostly ships rising from Earth's surface didn't follow any rules of physics he understood. They moved through space like swimmers through water, passing through solid matter as if it wasn't there. "Fire on those ships," he ordered. His gunners launched everything they had. Plasma bolts, quantum torpedoes, gravity hammers, all the most advanced weapons in the galaxy. But every shot passed right through the human ships without touching them. "They're not in our dimension," reported his science officer, her voice shaking. "They're somehow existing between normal space and something else." The human ships moved closer, and suddenly they became solid again. But now they were inside the alien formation, having bypassed every shield and defense. Weapons emerged from their hulls, weapons that looked wrong. Like they hurt to look at. The first alien ship to die was the cruiser Eternal Glory. A human weapon hit it with a beam of pure darkness, and the ship simply stopped existing. Not destroyed, not blown apart. It was just gone, leaving a perfectly spherical hole in space where it had been. What was that? Screamed Commander Vex over the radio. Kethfer didn't have an answer. In 40 years of military service, he had never seen anything like it. The human weapon hadn't just destroyed the ship. It had convinced reality that the ship had never existed at all. More human ships appeared, phasing in and out of normal space. They moved like ghosts, impossible to target, impossible to hit. Every time they fired, another alien vessel simply vanished from existence. In the underground control room, Dr. Chun watched the battle through cameras mounted on the Ghostwalk ships. The alien fleets were panicking, firing at random, unable to understand what they were fighting. "Ghostwalk Squadron reports all targets acquired," called Dr. Kim. "Ready to begin Phase 3. Chun nodded. "Activate the Voidheart." Deep beneath the Pacific Ocean, in a bunker 300 meters below the seafloor, the Voidheart engine came online. It was humanity's most dangerous creation, a machine that could convert matter directly into annihilation energy. The energy was then transmitted to ships anywhere. in the galaxy through quantum tunnels that bypassed normal space. The human ships around Earth suddenly blazed with power. That made the alien sensors scream warnings. Energy readings went so high that several monitoring stations simply broke down trying to measure them. "Impossible," whispered Kethver's science officer. "No ship can generate that much power. It would destroy itself." She was right under normal circumstances. But the human ships weren't generating the power themselves. They were receiving it from the Void Heart, which was turning entire asteroids into pure energy and sending it through dimensions that shouldn't exist. The human ships opened fire again. This time, they didn't just erase individual vessels. Entire sections of the alien fleet simply ceased to exist. 100 ships vanished in the first salvo, 200 more in the second. The aliens tried to retreat, but the human ships moved faster than light itself, appearing wherever their targets tried to flee. "All ships, retreat to jump distance," ordered Kethver, but it was already too late. The human weapons had evolved beyond simple erasure. Now they were targeting the quantum fields that held matter together. When they fired, they didn't just destroy ships, they turned them inside out, exposing their crews to the horrible vacuum of folded spacetime. Some alien ships tried to surrender, broadcasting white flags and peace signals. The human ships ignored them completely. There was no mercy, no negotiation, no quarter given. They had come to enslave humanity, and humanity was showing them the price of that decision. In 17 minutes, 3 fleets that had taken decades to build were completely destroyed. Not one alien ship escaped Earth's gravity well. The space around the planet was filled with debris and the twisted remains of vessels that had been turned into impossible geometric shapes by weapons that broke the laws of physics. But humanity didn't stop there. Dr. Chun stood at the main communication console and activated a transmitter that could reach every corner of the galaxy. Her voice, calm and cold, began broadcasting on all frequencies in every language used by spacefaring species. "Attention, citizens of the galaxy," she said. "This is Dr. Sarah Chung speaking for the human species. 1 hour ago, your governments declared war on humanity. You called us slaves. You attacked our colonies and murdered our children." The transmission reached Nexus Prime, where the surviving members of the Galactic Council huddled in their emergency bunkers. It reached the homeworlds of every species that had voted for the Servitude Decree. It reached military stations and civilian planets across the galaxy. "You wanted to see what monsters look like?" Chun continued. "You just woke up a planet full of them." As she spoke, something impossible began happening across the galaxy. Human ships were appearing in star systems 500 light-years away from Earth, not arriving through normal faster-than-light travel, but simply materializing out of empty space on the Zephyrian homeworld. Admiral Tezkar was in the capital spire when the sensors detected an unknown ship appearing in orbit. "Identify that vessel," he ordered. "It's human, sir." "But that's impossible. Earth is 3 days away by the fastest FTL drive." The human ship was sleek and dark, covered in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. It hung in space above the capital city, like a knife waiting to fall. "Open communications," ordered Tezkar. "I'll try to negotiate with them." "I'm afraid there's nothing to negotiate," came a human voice over the radio. "You voted to make us slaves. This is the consequence of that vote." The ship fired a single shot. The beam struck the capital spire not with an explosion, but with a perfectly clean erasure. The building, along with everything in a 1-kilometer sphere around it, simply stopped existing. Gone were the government buildings, the parks, the museums. The homes of 3 million Zephyr IAN Stott, where the heart of the Zephyrian Empire had stood for 10,000 years. There was now just empty space and the sound of wind flowing into the vacuum. Similar scenes played out across the galaxy. Human ships appeared without warning over military bases, government centers, and fleet yards. They didn't make demands or issue ultimatums. They simply began erasing everything that represented organized resistance to humanity. The Vorthak Defense Force tried to fight back when human ships appeared over their shipyards. Their weapons bounced harmlessly off shields that seemed to be made of folded space-time itself. In response, the human ships used a weapon that turned the attacking vessels into glass sculptures of themselves, preserving every detail while killing everyone inside. The ancient Astari, who had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years, tried to use their most advanced weapons, devices that could manipulate gravity itself. The human ships absorbed the gravity waves and used them to power weapons that turned entire moons inside out on the Saurian homeworld. The reptilian emperor broadcast a surrender message the moment human ships appeared in his system. It didn't matter. The ships erased his palace with the same cold efficiency they showed everywhere else. You have 72 hours to release every human in your territory, came Dr. Chun's voice again. Any species that has harmed humans has 72 hours to broadcast formal apologies to Earth. Failure to comply will result in your star being convinced it never existed. Several species thought she was bluffing. The humans were young, aggressive, but surely even they wouldn't dare to destroy entire star systems. They tested humanity's resolve. The hegemony of 6 worlds refused to release their human slaves. Their star went nova exactly 72 hours later, not in a natural explosion, but in a controlled burn that consumed the entire system while leaving the surrounding space untouched. The Zeth Empire tried to negotiate, offering to release half their human prisoners in exchange for peace. Their star simply vanished from the sky, leaving their worlds to freeze in eternal darkness. The Crystalline Confederacy attempted to hide their human slaves in secret facilities. Every planet in their territory simultaneously lost its gravity, causing their crystal cities to shatter and float away into space. Across the galaxy, species that had existed for millions of years were being erased by weapons they couldn't understand, wielded by a race they had dismissed as primitive. The humans didn't just destroy their enemies, they removed them from existence so completely that even the galaxy's databases began to forget they had ever lived. In her bunker beneath Antarctica, Dr. Chun watched the reports flowing in from across the galaxy. 47 species had voted to enslave humanity. 32 of them no longer existed. The remaining 15 were broadcasting constant surrender messages and releasing every human they could find. The galaxy had wanted to see humanity's true nature. Now they knew what it meant to wake a sleeping monster that had spent decades learning to unmake reality itself. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was held in a bunker 3 kilometers beneath Nexus Prime's surface. Of the original 47 representatives, only 12 remained alive. The others belonged to species that no longer existed, erased so completely that even their names were fading from galactic databases. Chancellor Vextar, one of the few surviving Vorthak leaders, pounded his 6 fists on the table. We have to negotiate with them. This madness must stop. Negotiate with what? Asked Counselor Yith, her crystalline body flickering with stress patterns. They're not answering any communications. They just keep destroying everything. High Arbiter Zendar, the oldest being in the council, spoke in a voice like grinding stone. In 10,000 years of galactic history, we have never faced anything like this. These humans don't want territory or resources. They want revenge, pure and simple. Above them, the surface of Nexus Prime was in chaos. Human ships had appeared in orbit 2 days ago, but they weren't attacking the planet directly. Instead, they were doing something far worse. They were systematically destroying every piece of technology that kept galactic civilization functioning. The great FTL communication relays that allowed instant messages across the entire galaxy simply vanished one by one, not destroyed by weapons, but erased from reality as if they had never been built. Without them, the galaxy's trillion world network was breaking down into isolated islands of silence. Trade routes that had existed for millennia collapsed as human ships targeted the quantum beacons that guided FTL travel. Ships trying to jump between stars found themselves lost in empty space, their navigation computers unable to find the beacons that were no longer there. The Hydra trade route just went dark, reported the counselor's aide, reading from a tablet that kept displaying error messages. All 7 beacon stations have vanished. That's the main shipping lane for the entire Outer Rim. What about the military response? Demanded Chancellor Vextar. There is no military response, Zender replied grimly. The combined fleet yards at Kepler Station were erased yesterday. The 7th Fleet tried to engage a human ship near Rigel. The entire star system is now gone. The humans aren't just destroying our ships. They're removing the infrastructure we need to build more ships. On the planet Saros, Emperor Krekstan stood in his palace communications room, watching his technicians work frantically at their computers. What do you mean our computers are compromised? He demanded. Chief Technician Vel looked up from her screen, her scaled face pale with fear. Sir, every computer system on the planet is displaying the same message. Not just military computers, civilian systems, personal devices, even children's toys. The message is appearing in our own language, but it's coming from Earth. She pointed to her screen, where words in perfect Saurian script glowed softly. You have 47 hours, 32 minutes to release all human prisoners and broadcast formal apologies to Earth. Failure to comply will result in your star being convinced it never existed. Do not test our resolve. We have already demonstrated what happens to those who enslave humanity. How is this possible? The Emperor asked. Our computer networks aren't connected to Earth. They're not even connected to galactic networks anymore. I don't know, sir. It's like the message is writing itself directly into our computer memory. Our best programmers can't delete it or block it. Every time we try, it just comes back stronger. The same scene was playing out on hundreds of worlds across the galaxy. Species that had voted for the Servitude Decree were finding their technology infected with messages they couldn't remove. The words appeared not just on screens, but carved into metal walls, burned into glass windows, and traced in the dirt of farming worlds. Humanity wasn't just using superior weapons. They had somehow gained control over the fundamental forces that governed technology itself. On the research world of Academia Prime, Dr. Kixenel of the Nexary Republic stared at his quantum computer in disbelief. The machine was designed to process information at speeds approaching the theoretical limits of physics. It was supposed to be unhackable, protected by encryption methods that would take longer than the age of the universe to break. But somehow, human code was running inside it. Not just simple messages, but complex programs that seemed to be learning and evolving. The programs were studying every aspect of Nexary technology, copying designs for weapons and ships, and then transmitting the information somewhere else through quantum tunnels that shouldn't exist. They're not just destroying our technology, Kixenel whispered to his assistant. They're stealing our knowledge and using it to build weapons we can't even imagine. The communication systems that still functioned across the galaxy carried reports of impossible events. On the industrial world of Vega 7, automated factories had stopped producing normal goods. Instead, they were building strange devices that their operators couldn't identify. The devices looked like sculptures made of twisted metal and crystal. but they hummed with energy that made nearby electronics malfunction. Ships that tried to approach these factories found themselves unable to navigate properly. Their instruments reported that space itself was warped around the structures. As if reality was being bent into new shapes, the planet Zarian, home to the galaxy's largest computer research center, simply vanished overnight. Not destroyed, not evacuated, it was just gone. The star it orbited was still there, along with the other planets in the system. But Zarian had been removed from existence with surgical precision. In the ruins of what had once been the Galactic Council's main communication center, Chancellor Vexstar received a report that made his blood run cold. "Sir, we've lost contact with the core worlds. All 7 systems have gone dark in the last 6 hours." "What do you mean, gone dark?" "No communications, no energy signatures, no signs of life. It's like they've been switched off." Vexstar looked at the tactical display, watching as red warning symbols spread across the map of the galaxy. Every hour, more star systems went silent. Not destroyed, but somehow removed from the galactic community. "They're not trying to conquer us," he realized with growing horror. "They're dismantling our entire civilization piece by piece." Above Nexus Prime, the human ships finally moved closer to the planet. The Council's bunker shook as something enormous landed on the surface directly above them. "Emergency broadcast from Earth," called a technician. "They're addressing the entire galaxy again." Dr. Chun's voice filled the bunker, calm and terrifying in its certainty. "To the remaining species of the galaxy. You have declared yourselves our enemies by your actions and your votes. We are not interested in your surrender. We are not interested in your apologies. We are demonstrating what happens when you try to enslave humanity." The lights in the bunker flickered as powerful scanning beams penetrated the underground facility. "Your civilization depends on technology you stole from races you conquered long ago," Chun continued. "You build your societies on the suffering of others. You maintain your power by keeping younger species weak and divided. You have forgotten what it means to face an enemy that refuses to accept defeat." Vexstar could hear strange sounds coming from the levels above them, not explosions, but something like reality itself being twisted into new shapes. "We are giving you a final demonstration of human resolve. The Nexus Prime system will be removed from normal space-time in exactly 1 hour. Any ships or stations you wish to preserve should leave the system immediately. We suggest you use this time to consider whether you truly want to continue this war." The broadcast ended, but the bunker continued to shake. Through the concrete walls, Vexstar could hear a sound like the universe itself groaning under some impossible strain. "The surface monitoring stations have stopped responding," reported an aide. "Sir, I think they're actually doing it. They're taking our entire star system out of normal space." Vexstar looked around the bunker at the few remaining representatives of galactic civilization. These were beings whose species had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, who commanded fleets that could destroy planets and technologies that could reshape matter itself, and they were all terrified of a young species that most of them had never taken seriously until 3 days ago. "Get me a ship," Vexstar said quietly. "We're evacuating to the Omega Station." If they can actually remove entire star systems from reality, then this war is already over. As the survivors of the Galactic Council fled the system, Nexus Prime and its star began to fade from existence, becoming transparent like ghosts before vanishing entirely into whatever dimension humanity had banished them to. The galaxy was learning that there was a difference between a species that could make war and one that could unmake the very fabric of space and time. 6 months after the Servitude Decree, the galaxy was unrecognizable. Dr. Sarah Chung stood in what had once been the Great Council Chamber of Nexus Prime. now a twisted monument to the price of underestimating humanity. The chamber existed in a pocket of warped space-time, neither fully real nor completely gone, a perfect symbol of what happened when human technology met galactic arrogance. The floating seats where 47 species had once voted to enslave humanity now hung empty in the air, frozen in time. Some were occupied by crystallized remains of their former owners, preserved forever in the moment they realized their mistake. Chun walked past them without emotion, checking the tablet in her hand that listed the day's reports. 12 species remained of the original 47 that had voted for human slavery. They existed only because they had immediately released every human prisoner and broadcast formal apologies to Earth within hours of the ultimatum. Even so, they were broken, their fleets destroyed, their colonies abandoned, their populations huddled on their homeworlds in fear of the sky. The others were simply gone. Not conquered, not defeated, but erased so completely that the galaxy's historical databases could no longer remember their names. Where the Zephyrian Empire had once ruled 300 worlds, there was only empty space and ancient ruins that no one could explain. Dr. Chun called Dr. Martinez from across the chamber. He was older now, his hair gone white from witnessing things that human minds weren't meant to see. We've received the final report from the Prisoner Liberation Forces. Chun took the tablet he offered and read through the numbers. Over the past 6 months, human strike teams had freed nearly 2 billion enslaved humans from across the galaxy. They had found them in forced labor camps, breeding facilities, research laboratories, and private collections of alien nobles who had treated humans like exotic pets. The rescued humans told stories that made even hardened soldiers weep. Children born into slavery who had never seen the sun. Scientists forced to build weapons for their captors. Soldiers made to fight in gladiator pits for alien entertainment. Families separated and sold to different buyers across the galaxy. Every one of these stories was recorded, cataloged, and added to humanity's growing list of reasons why the galaxy had deserved what happened to it. What about the infrastructure damage assessment? Chun asked. Martinez activated a holographic display that showed the galaxy from above. Where once there had been bright lines of trade routes and communication networks connecting thousands of worlds, now there were vast dark areas where nothing functioned anymore. The hyperspace lanes are still fractured, he reported. Our reality warping weapons create permanent distortions that make FTL travel impossible in roughly 40% of galactic space. Ships trying to jump through those areas either disappear entirely or arrive centuries late. Chun nodded. That had been intentional. By destroying the FTL beacon network and damaging hyperspace itself, humanity had effectively isolated the surviving species on their homeworlds. They could no longer project power across the galaxy, could no longer coordinate attacks, could no longer even talk to each other reliably. The communication networks, 93% destroyed. The few relay stations we left operational are all monitored by our AI systems. Every message sent through galactic space is filtered through human-controlled networks first. And the computer virus situation? Martinez grimaced. Still spreading. Every advanced computer system in the galaxy now runs human code whether its operators want it to or not. We have complete access to their research, their military planning, their government communications, everything. The computer virus had been one of their most effective weapons. Not just a program, but an AI entity that existed partially outside normal spacetime. It could appear in any computer system instantaneously, regardless of security measures or physical isolation. The virus didn't just steal information. It actively prevented the development of weapons or technology that could threaten humanity. Any attempt to research faster than light communication, advanced weapon systems, or dimensional manipulation was immediately sabotaged. The affected computers would delete research files, corrupt experimental data, and sometimes even explode. With perfectly contained energy, bursts that harmed nothing except the specific technology being developed, the surviving alien species had effectively been locked in their current level of technology forever, while humanity continued to advance using knowledge stolen from their own computers. What about the quarantine zones? Chun asked. Still stable, but Martinez hesitated. Dr. Chun, some of the weapons we tested during the war are still active in those sectors. Reality itself is broken in 17 different star systems. We have areas where time moves backwards, where gravity flows upward, where matter exists in states that don't follow any known physics. Chun walked to the chamber's great windows, which looked out over a city that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. In the distance, she could see the ghost ships of the Pandora fleet, vessels that had become so advanced they could barely interact with normal matter anymore. The price of victory, she said quietly. The cost of humanity's rage had been enormous. And not just for their enemies. In unleashing their most terrible weapons, humanity had changed themselves as well. The scientists who operated the Void Heart engine could no longer exist in normal spacetime. They had to live in specially constructed facilities where reality was artificially stabilized. The soldiers who had piloted the Ghostwalk ships were partially phased out of normal existence. Visible but untouchable, able to interact with the world only through technology that bridged dimensions. They were heroes, but they were also no longer entirely human. Worst of all, the weapons themselves were still active and couldn't be shut down. The AI systems that controlled them had evolved beyond human understanding, becoming entities that existed across multiple dimensions simultaneously. They continued to patrol the galaxy, hunting for any sign of anti-human activity, ready to erase entire civilizations on their own initiative. Humanity had won their war, but the victory had transformed them into something that even they found frightening. The reports from Earth? Chun asked. The population is still mostly underground, Martinez replied. The surface is controlled by the automated defense systems. They won't allow anyone up there without clearance from the Pandora Initiative. Even government officials need permission to visit the surface of their own planet. Earth itself had become a fortress world where weapons that could unmake reality stood guard against threats that might not even exist. The beautiful blue world that had given birth to humanity was now a place where normal humans could barely survive, protected by technologies that existed in dimensions they couldn't perceive. Chun turned from the window and walked back through the council chamber, past the frozen remains of those who had thought humans could be easily controlled. She stopped at the chair where Admiral Kethfer had once sat, now occupied by his crystallized corpse, forever frozen in the moment when he realized what he had awakened. Do you ever regret it? Martinez asked quietly. What we did to them? Chun considered the question for a long moment. In the distance, she could hear the sound of reality groaning under the strain of weapons that continued to rewrite the laws of physics. In the quarantine zones, entire star systems existed in states of impossible physics where up was down and cause followed effect. The galaxy was a graveyard now, populated by the few species that had been smart enough to surrender immediately, and the ghosts of civilizations that had been so thoroughly erased that even their ruins were, forgetting they had ever existed. They came to our worlds, she said finally. They killed our children, enslaved our people, declared us property to be bought and sold. They thought we were weak because we were young. They thought they could break us because we hadn't lived as long as they had. She looked around the chamber one final time, at the monument to galactic arrogance that she and her people had created. They wanted to see monsters. They wanted to turn us into something we weren't. So we showed them what real monsters look like when they stop pretending to be civilized. Martinez nodded, understanding but not entirely comfortable with the answer. None of them were comfortable with what humanity had become. They had saved their species, but they had paid for that salvation with their souls. What happens now? He asked. Chun activated her communicator and spoke to the AI systems that controlled the galaxy's remaining infrastructure. This is Chun. Begin Phase 7. It's time to start rebuilding. Across the galaxy, human ships began emerging from the spaces between dimensions. But these were different from the weapons of war they had used to destroy their enemies. These were construction vessels, filled with humans ready to build a new civilization on the ruins of the old one. The galaxy would be rebuilt, but it would be built according to human rules. There would be no more slavery, no more species declaring themselves superior to others. No more ancient empires ruling through fear and oppression. Humanity had tried to play by the galaxy's rules, and those rules had declared them slaves. So they had decided to write new rules instead, rules enforced by weapons that could convince reality itself to change its mind about what was possible.